Good afternoon, humanoids. Absolute delight. There's a lot of you here. I'm just going to apologise for my tardiness today. I got caught up in a small rend in the fabric of space and time. Otherwise known as my daughter. Very sorry. I know I was meant to be here this morning and it all got a bit... There's only one way to describe it. It all got a bit smegged up. So I was very late. I'm very sorry, and I'm very grateful for your patience and sorry to mess up the whole schedule, especially to the organisers who've had a bit of a problem. Well known for it. But thank you very much all for coming. And wasn't that wonderful, the video from Mike Seymour? He is such a lovely guy. You know, he was born in Australia, raised in Australia, lives in Sydney, and Craig Charles described him as coming from New Zealand. So, which he's very thrilled about. He thinks that's wonderful. But he's a really exceptional man, and he helped a huge amount doing the stuff we did this year. I think the best thing to do is if people ask me questions, otherwise I'll just stand here and waffle on like a... I'm not going to say a rude thing, but like a thing that waffles. A waffly thing. So there's people with microphones, so if someone puts their hand up, they'll choose who you are, and then I'll try and answer. The man with the hat.
The man with the hat. Were you doing the Electric Dreams thing on BBC recently, the voiceover? Are there any electrical gadgets that you can remember from the past that you'd like to see again, or is there something that you had which you missed?
Ah, yes, this is... I don't know how many of you have seen this. This is a series that's on at the moment called Electric Dreams, which is looking at the last 3 decades, 70s, 80s, 90s, of family life in relationship to the electronic gadgetry that people had, and it was lovely to voiceover for it. But it did bring all these things back that I'm sure you will have forgotten that had. And I mean, certainly in the 80s, the Walkman, because that was my first proper high-tech gizmo. I had a recording Walkman. You could record sound on it, and it would record really high-tech. And it had a little speaker at the back so you could hear it going. And that was just cutting-edge, state-of-the-art stuff that you could record sound on a thing you could carry. Because up to then, a tape recorder was a huge, big clump of stuff. So I remember the Walkman very fondly, and that was a very favourite gadget until I dropped it off the back of a truck and then smashed it. So there we go. But yes, it's a wonderful series, worth catching. It's on what night of the week is it on? I can't remember what. BBC. It's on the iPlayer actually, it's BBC 4, isn't it? BBC 4, but it's on the iPlayer. So it's worth, I think you've missed the 70s and 80s, but the 90s is, even for you younger people, you probably remember the 90s, and that was remarkable to see what everything was even in the 90s. Computers in particular were, the early computers, the ZX Spectrum. What a wonderful piece of machinery. But anyway, so another question. Yes.
Right, Robert, something.
That's all right.
Remember me from last year?
Sorry, say again?
Remember me last year? James Thomas, remember?
Yes, I can remember you, yes.
I'm going to ask the same question as 2 years ago. I found forgotten.
Right.
You know inside your suit?
Yeah.
What did it feel like? Was it like hot, cold, medium-ish?
Hot. Hot is the best way to describe it. It's the new one that I wore in the most recent series that we did this year everything was much better. It was cooler than the old ones because the sort of armour plating that Crichton has was lighter and it had more room to breathe, and for some reason it wasn't quite as unspeakably vile when I took it off. But the mask, although the mask was much quicker to stick on and took the same amount of time to get it off, it was much quicker to get on. Once it was on, it was just the same. As Craig whispered into my ear the first morning the makeup was being put on, he went, "Welcome back, Bobby, where you been on?" And I got quite depressed at that point. Because you can't remember, it's not something, if you've ever had a full head prosthetic, it's not something that the human memory was designed to retain. So you kind of forget, as soon as it's off you go, "Oh, what a relief," and you have a shower and it's nice. And you forget what it's like until it goes back on the next day, and then you go, oh yes, it's shit. So, excuse my French, I'm trying not to swear. But yes, it's not. So the actual suit itself is uncomfortable, hot, and not very nice, but it's that mask that is the burden. But it's my choice, and I love it. Can I point at something? Yeah, come on, run there, quick.
Another question about the suit, I'm afraid.
All right.
Nice festival episode situation. Someone other than you has to wear a Crichton-esque costume. Could be Chris, Danny, even Craig. Who would fare the best, and oh God, who would complain the most?
Actually, to be fair to my fellow performers, they're all troopers. I think none of them would. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, actually. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And then my mates. I think that they would all be very good and professional about it. I can't think they won't. Although, saying that, Danny would milk it.
I can't believe I'm wearing this guy. I've been in it for 60 hours.
You've been in for 6 minutes, Dan.
But it feels like 60 hours.
Yeah, not that he talks about that at all, but you know. So, but no, they're so good. I mean, unfortunately, I'm married to a woman who has experienced it, which has been a burden for a long time, because she put it on, and being a tough Aussie ex-gymnast, she goes, it's not that bad, make all that bloody fuss. Stop moaning. But she had it on for 2 days. What does she know? She still goes on about it now. It's really unfair. But she did wear it. She had the whole thing on, the suit and everything, and she wasn't broke. So I get no sympathy at home whatsoever. And when my son was on the set this year when we were filming it, he's now my height and a big monster, and he just came up and prodded in my face, and he goes, "Why do you make such a fuss about that? You big wuss." That's what he said. So there we go. Yeah. Oh, well, yes, that gentleman there, because he was very gracious just now.
Hi, Robert. I've actually got a question about Crichton. We seem to be asking all kinds of things about the suit and that. But what I want to know is, when Crichton started to break his programming and developed emotions and everything like that, jealousy and stuff, are there any emotions that were hinted at in any of the episodes that you would have liked to have seen progressed further?
I'm sure there were. I mean, the one that we discussed, there was a lot of talk around Series 6 and 7 about we were talking about a Crichton baby puppet, and that Crichton somehow creates so it was the fatherhood gene that was kicking in. And I think it's probably because Doug and I were talking about that, and I just had children, and so there was the idea of a sort of a little baby Crichton. Which would have been great fun, but it never. And then there was some talk about a plot which involved that, and then I think Doug sat down on his own and went, "No, it's a bad idea." So it never happened. So I think that's the nearest we got to that, really. But I don't know. I mean, we did. I think we sort of covered quite a lot of it, because the idea of Crichton being angry was quite good, which we sort of explored in 1 or 2 episodes. So.